Hello everybody, my name is Tim Norris, aka GreyElephant, coming to you from GreyElephant Gaming. Today we're going to do a how to play video on Escape from the Cursed Temple. This is a video that will take you all the way from setup all the way to in-game victory conditions. Without further ado, let's get it on. I'm first going to take you through the basic setup and then we'll go through the advanced later. In the basic setup, you're going to get the 6 basic tiles, the exit, the starting, and then these 4 tiles up here. These are easily found because they are the only ones that have these 3 magic deposits here listed on. Next, go through the rest of the tiles and search for the 13 basic chambers. It's easy to denote which ones are the basic chambers as opposed to the more advanced chambers. The advanced chambers will either have a purple mask or they will have this golden treasure icon up here in the top left-hand corner. Now you're going to take the 13 basic tiles and you're going to mix them with these other 4 tiles that have the 3 symbols on the side. Now, depending on the amount of players determines where the exit is going to go in the stack. If you're playing with 1 to 2 players, you would actually just put this into the middle of the stack. However, I will show you what you would do if you had more than 2 players. Take the top 4 tiles, take the exit tile, mix it in with the rest of them, as so. Take the 5 tiles that you have, and you're going to place it on the very bottom of the stack, just like that. We have now formed our temple. Now we've placed a start tile in the center of our temple. Each player would select the pawn of their choosing, and they would also collect 5 dice as well. Go ahead and place your pawns in there in the center temple, and take your 5 dice and place them in front of you. You're almost ready to start entering the temple. Next thing you're going to do is you're going to take the gem depot, and depending on the amount of players, you're going to add that many magic gems. So for instance, with 3 players, we would add a total of 11 magic gems. And no matter how many players are playing, you always will take 2 extra magic gems and you're going to set them to the side of the depot as such. Now let's get our temple started. The first thing you're going to do is you're going to take the 2 top tiles and you're going to place them on each side of the starting tile. Now there are some rules to placing tiles. You always, whenever you pull a tile, you take the stairwell and you place it up against the entrance of the tile that you are going up against. As such. Now we got one more step. Let's get our music going. One thing I failed to mention is that each person should take their colored token and lay it down in front of them to help people recognize which player is which color when playing the game. This is a very fast, frantic paced game, so it's very important that you try to remember this, especially when you're playing with 5 players. Now, the first thing we're going to do is I'm going to start playing the music for you. And the reason is because the music is really the main part of this game. The exploring and everything builds off of that. So what I'm going to do is push play on this so that you can hear the build-up of the music. And this will go for 20 seconds. And then you will hear somebody say, "Escape." From there, I'm going to pause it. Did you hear that? That means it's time to go. So now I'm going to pause the CD and I'm going to teach you how do you go through this temple while the music's playing. Now while the music's paused, why don't we go over the tiles and also what the purpose of the game is. The purpose of the game is that you're trying to find that exit tile that's somewhere buried in this stack of chambers. But to be able to do that, you have to explore. The other thing you're trying to do is you're trying to activate or get rid of all these magic gems that are located on the deposit up here. So how do you do that? Well, first off, why don't we teach how we're going to actually explore into or enter a chamber that is adjacent to a chamber that you're in. When you're playing the game, you're going to be rolling your dice as fast as you can. And what you're going to be trying to do to try to travel from one chamber to another is you're going to look down here in the bottom corner. You would have to try to roll these 2 symbols. So for instance, we have 2 running men, and to be able to enter that chamber on your turn, you would have to roll those 2 men. Now keep in mind, as you're rolling, if you ever roll one of the men, you could set that aside and continue to roll the rest of the dice in hopes that you would get the second man that you need and enter into that chamber. While in that chamber, the way that you would get rid of the magic gems is by rolling the icon that's located to the magic gem depots right here to activate them. Now keep in mind, if multiple players enter this chamber, you can all put your torches together to try to equal the number that is listed right here. So for instance, if you roll 7 torches, you could get rid of 2 of your magic gems and you could place them directly onto the board as such. But if all 3 of you entered, you'd have a greater chance of rolling 10 of those torches and possibly activating all 3 of them.
Now the trick is that once you actually activate one of them, you are never allowed to come back into this chamber to activate any of the others. So you have to be smart about what you do. A lot of times if you just activate the middle one, you could be pretty safe. But keep in mind, the more players, the more magic gems that you have to activate, which means that you will have to take more time to try to get the icons for the larger deposits. Now keep in mind, the music will be playing the entire time, and certain things the music will sound that'll signal certain actions that you have to take, and we will go over those in just a minute. But what I want to do still is finish off on how do you explore, and what do all these icons on your dice mean. The next thing I want to teach you is how do you actually discover a new chamber. Notice that we have an entrance here and here that we could possibly lay a new chamber down on. To be able to do that, look on the back of these tiles. We have two men, it looks like they're running. If you ever roll, any of you, in this chamber, then you would be able to actually take the top tile and place it here or here, depending on which spot you pointed to. So let's say you did roll the two men, take the top tile, and remember the rules. We have to take this stair chamber, and we have to place it towards the entrance as such. Now the new chamber we placed down, if you notice, has a different set of icons that would be needed to roll to be able to enter this chamber. However, it also does have another gem deposit that you could possibly access, and the more people in there, the chances of you activating that, the better. The other thing I want to show you now is let's look at your dice. We know what the running man does. He helps you explore. However, what's this guy do? This is the naughty guy of the game. What this guy does to you is he's going to curse you. What that means is that anytime you roll one of these icons, you're not allowed to use this dice anymore. You must take that die and set it aside until you can break that curse. Well, how do you break that curse? You roll a gold mask. A gold mask will actually break the curse on up to 2 of the black masks. So if you have 2 of them over here and you rolled those, and you're not allowed to roll them, keep in mind, until you break the curse, if you roll 1 golden mask, you can take both of your black masks out of the lock and then start rolling them again as normal. The other icons on your die are really just signified to help you move around or to possibly open up treasures, which we'll get into treasures when we get into the advanced mode of the game. But for now we're in the basic and we don't have to worry about treasures. One other quick note about the black masks. If you are in the same chamber as another player, and if one of the other players rolls a gold mask, they can allocate this gold mask to free up one of their other players' 2 black masks. That's very beneficial and also encourages you to try to stay together as you're traveling through the temple. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to start setting up the board a little bit more, and then I'm going to play the music, and I'm going to teach you what happens when a gong is sounded in the game. In this example, we see that our adventurers have traveled a lot through the temple. They have entered in through this chamber, have decided to travel all the way around. Now one thing to always keep in mind, if you notice, these 2 tiles has one entrance, but unfortunately it is going to butt up against a dead end on the other one. So you would not be able to travel through one to the other freely because both sides of the tile must have an open side. While they're in there, I'm going to play the gong on the CD track so that you can hear that, and also I'm going to explain to you what that means. This will take about 10 seconds for it to build up. Did you hear that? Now that gong signifies that everybody must get back to the starting tile. To be able to do that, you must roll the icons again that are located on the bottom right hand corner. Or you could take the chance that maybe they can explore and make their way around real quick. One way or another, they have to try to get there. But one thing you always have to make sure you keep in mind is that just because you did explore and flip this tile up, that does not mean you get to immediately move on to it. You would still have to roll the icons that are located in the bottom right hand corner no matter what. So as the music is playing, our characters would have to try to make their way back to the starting position as fast as they can. So let me show you just how frantic that could possibly be as the music's playing. Because if you don't make it fast enough, you will suffer a terrible penalty. And I'll explain that in just a second. I must roll a key and a man to be able to enter in here. I have a key, I'll set that aside. My gold mask will negate my 2 black, so I'll just go ahead and roll them again. I got the man right there, so I will move him right to here. I need a man and a torch. I've already got a torch, So I couldn't roll that one. So I need to now try to get a man. I have it. I can move here. Now I need a man and a key. I already have a key. So now I need to try to roll a man. I've got it. I need a man and a key. I've already got one man. I could set it aside. Notice how my curses are starting to pile up. Now I've got 3. Boom. I didn't make it. Now I'm going to suffer the penalty. I turned the music off so that you can hear me clearly. Notice as I was trying to get back how many black masks or curses I rolled. This is very common in the frantic nature of you trying to make it back to the starting position, because typically somebody's just going to run ahead. It's basically everybody for themselves at this moment. You try to stay together, but it's just not possible. So the black masks, the curses, is really what prevented me from advancing. As the penalty, because I did not make it back to the starting tile, I will, for the rest of the game, lose one of my dice. I am down to 4 dice, unfortunately. One thing to keep in mind is, let's say that all the players were trying to get back as fast as they can, and everybody rolled cursed dice, which has happened before with us. What you are allowed to do is you're allowed to take one of these magic gems, and you're allowed to place it inside of the gem depot to take away and alleviate the curse on all of your dice that have been accursed. So what I'm going to do now is that I'm going to show you how many tiles it possibly could be before you would get to the exit, because that is really the trick of the game, to try to find the exit. So let's turn this stack over, and if we notice, the exit was actually the second from the bottom. Once the exit has been found and placed on the board, everybody would get a chance to try to escape, but you have to be on that tile to be able to escape. And let me show you what you would do. Every person on the tile would roll their dice, and they would have to roll, let me show you the tile and it'll help you, for every gem that is inside the gem deposit, they have to roll 1 key icon on their dice. However, plus 1. So for instance, let's say that all of our adventurers made it, they found the exit, and they had 3 gems that were still inside of the deposit. Well, they would have to roll 3 plus 1, so 4 keys to be able to escape. And with this player being cursed with only 4 dice, you can understand how difficult that'll be. However, there's one little break that you do get. Let's say that the red player escapes. He can take one of his dice, because he no longer needs them, and give it to the blue player to get him up to 5 dice to help him out. And let's say if the green player escapes, he too can give the blue player one of his dice to help him out. Remember, the trick of the game is that if everybody doesn't make it out by the sound of the CD, which I'm about to play for you, you lose the game. It's important to remember there are a total of 3 gongs throughout the game. The first 2 are making you run back to the entrance. The last one is signifying that if you don't get out of here, you're going to be trapped in forever. The last one gives you 30 seconds to escape. This is what it sounds like for the last 10 seconds of the disc. During this time, you're trying to frantically roll and you're trying to get the keys to try to get out. 2 people are out. Blue is still trying to get the last key he needs. He keeps rolling, but he keeps getting curses and curses, and it's really making it hard for him. His heart's beating. He's scared. He's sweating. He knows he's going to let everybody down. And he is sealed inside of the temple forever. His 2 friends outside, they mourn and lament over him, forever knowing that he is sealed inside of the temple for the rest of his life. Now what I plan on doing is I'm going to reset this, and I'm going to show you the advanced form of setting up the temple. The advanced version would still use the exit, the starting point, and the 4 basic tiles that are listed up here. Then you're going to gather together the 13 curse and treasure tiles. Now you'll take your 13 cursed and treasure tiles, mix them with the 4 basic tiles, and depending on the amount of players, you would still take the exit. If you have 1 to 2 players, you would place it directly in the center of this mixed stack. If you have more than 1 to 2 players, you would take the top 4 tiles after these 17 are mixed together. Then you would mix them together and place it directly on the bottom of the stack, just like that. Then we will go ahead and take our starting tile right here, and we're going to place it in the center of the board. Now that we're pretty well set up, we've got a couple of more steps before we're ready to play. First, let's go ahead and flip our 2 top tiles, like what we did in the last game when we did the basic setup. But we're not done yet. We've got something else we got to do. Now we're going to have to make sure that we get all of our treasure tokens and place them next to the board. And I'm going to go over how you're going to use these treasure tokens and what they're going to mean. Now these would be in a nice neat stack all face down. The other thing you're going to do is you're going to get all your curse tiles and you're going to place them in a stack face down as well. I will do that right now. Now that we have everything in a nice neat stack, you would begin the music just like in the basic, and you would wait for the signal to escape, everybody would start rolling, and you would discover new chambers, drop your magic gems into these depots. Everything's exactly the same. However, there are some problems. We have curses and we have treasures. Whenever you go into a chamber and you roll to turn one of these other new discovered chambers over, and you have a curse on it, you will immediately take the top card from this stack and apply that curse to you. Why don't we go over what each one of these curses mean and how they can affect you throughout the game. The first one we'll take a look at is the trap. You may not enter or discover a chamber as long as you have this placed up in front of you. Now remember, as soon as you turn over this tile, you're going to take this and place it directly in front of you, and that means that this curse applies immediately. At any time, you're going to be able to get rid of this curse if you can roll the following 3 icons that's listed on the bottom of it. If you do, just discard it. This one here is the broken die. Place one of your die on this card. You may only retrieve it after you have lifted the curse. So you must roll these 3 icons down here, otherwise you're never going to have your die. We also have the mask. After rolling a golden mask, you or a player of your choice in the same chamber may re-roll only 1 of your black dice. So this would only allow you, if you rolled a golden mask, to break the curse on 1 black die instead of 2. That I have found has been one of the worst ones in the deck. This one here is silence. You are not allowed to talk. You may relieve it with 3 keys. This one can be funny because people typically just, you don't know they have it and they're trying to mutter. This one here is lost dice. Any die of yours that falls off the table is permanently lost and you just return it to the game box. 3 keys, you can get rid of it. I haven't had too many problems with that one. This one here is the cursed hand. You must place 1 hand on top of your head and keep it there until the curse is lifted. This one here, I've had 0 problems. I think it's silly. That is all the curses. But look, we also have a little treasure icon on these tiles as well. So why don't we talk about what the treasures mean and how they can benefit you throughout the game. Whenever you discover a new tile, for instance, you take it from this stack and you place it down onto the board, and if it has one of them treasure icons on it, you would immediately take one of these from the stack here and you would place it on that square as such. If you notice on the back here, it's got 2 keys located at the bottom. What that means is you would actually have to roll 2 keys with the dice to be able to gain access to whatever the power is listed on the back of the tile. Each one of these tiles has something special that could help you. For instance, the healing mask. All adventurers may re-roll all of their black masks immediately. You may use this treasure only once. Double torches. Double torches, this treasure serves as 2 torch icons, and you may use this treasure only once. You would keep these treasures in front of you until you actually use them. Double key. This treasure serves as 2 key icons. You may use this treasure only once. Teleport. You move your adventure figure to any other chamber containing at least 1 other adventurer. The 2 chambers do not need to be next to each other. You may only use this treasure once. Extra gem. Take a magic gem from the depot and place it on the treasure tile. This gem is considered activated. Keep the tile in front of you until the end of the game. And last but not least, the secret passage. Place the secret passage so that it overlaps 2 adjacent chambers that have no open space between them. The secret passage can be used by all adventurers until the end of the game. The secret passage is terrific for whenever you have a spot like this, whenever you're traveling around, and you can connect it right there to the starting tile. So whenever the gong sounds, you can make a quick beeline right here back to the start tile with no problem. It's important to remember that at any time if you draw a curse tile that is identical to the same curse tile that you already have in front of you, you would discard the one that you have in front of you and just place the new one down. So for instance, if I had the mask down in front of me, I got cursed again and drew another mask, just discard one and just keep only one in front of you. Treasures, you can have as many of them as you want in front of you. It's also important to remember that at the start of the game, even though I did flip over this purple mask, nobody starts with a curse at the beginning. All the same rules apply to entering a chamber, to discovering a new chamber, to activating magic gems, escaping, and possibly even needing to place gems onto the board to get rid of any of your cursed masks. Make it out all together, you win the game. But this is a bit more difficult than the basic. I still recommend that you start with the basic before you try the advanced. That way you could get a good feel for just how frantic the game can possibly get. Thank you for watching.
Thank you for watching. If I missed any rules, feel free to leave them below. I apologize for missing them. This video is intended to teach you from setup all the way to in-game victory conditions. If you want my opinion on this game, well, by all means, go check out the GreyElephant Quick Review. It's quick, only 6 minutes, but it'll give you my opinion along with several others of what we thought of this game. Thank you for watching. Bye-bye.